Welcome. Today we are doing a sequence called Pelvis. Pelvis. Some movements to help you find and fix any issues that you may be having in your pelvic area. What we mean by the pelvic area is anything from your upper thighs to your diaphragm. So that general midsection. That area is where movement happens, where your power comes from, where all kinds of great things happen if you've got the muscular strength and coordination to harness it. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to work on all kinds of different muscles. What we're going to do, we'll do a bunch of stuff from prone or constructive rest pose, and then we'll do a few movements from standing position also. What we're going to do is call out a particular muscle group, and then we'll do some movements for that particular area. So we might say glutes, and we might say hamstrings, and the quadratus lumborum, and so forth. So we're going to start real slow, real simple with the psoas. So we're going to start in constructive rest pose, and we're going to move very, very slowly. To start with, I'd like you to find your breath. So let's just look at your breath before we get into constructive rest pose. Just notice, without any controlling of your voice, of your breath, how long an inhale takes, how long an exhale takes. And the length of an inhale is what we're going to do for one movement. And we're going to start in constructive rest pose. This is constructive rest pose. We're going to interlace our fingers, bring them behind our head. That's going to help lift the lumbar curve a little bit off the mat. And we're going to then bring the thighs vertical, so the feet just dangle down from the knees. We're not straightening the legs, the lower legs at all. And from this position, on the next inhale, one knee moves in, one knee moves out until the toes or the heel taps, whichever your foot does. On the exhale, reverse that. So here's the inhale. Here's the exhale. So if it takes you 3 seconds to inhale, it should take you 3 seconds to go from here to here. 3 seconds to here. So try and get your breath and your movement synchronized. So 3 seconds to move from here to here. And I'm going to let you move on your own. I'd like you to notice what you feel. What muscles are engaging here? What muscles do you feel? And you may say, well, I feel the upper thighs a bit. I feel, the quads. I feel the hip flexors. And that may be true. You may feel them somewhat. But as you do this a little bit more often, and as you settle into this movement, the psoas comes to the fore, and that is the muscle that basically allows this movement to take place. The hip flexors are involved a little bit, the quads, I mean, but it's mostly psoas. So we'll continue to move nice and slowly. And why don't we do about 4 more? 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring both feet down. We're going to take several breaths here. I want you to relax. And I also want you to notice what you feel. What sort of muscle heat or muscle engagement do you feel from doing that movement? You may notice some of the muscle heat right here at the upper thighs, but I think as you settle in, you may notice that it shifts more deep into the torso, into the pelvic bowl area. Let's take a few more breaths. And we're going to switch our attention from the psoas to the obliques. The obliques are low torso muscles running from the ribs down to the pelvis. And they allow us to twist. And so we're going to do some twists from this position. So bring your thighs vertical again, feet dangle. What we're going to do is we're going to take one knee and let it drop down towards the ground. The other knee is going to push straight up towards the ceiling. So it pushes actively up. What you're going to notice is that the pelvis is rocked off to the side. So low here, high over here. Come back to center. Exhale. As the other leg goes down, this leg pushes up towards the sky. Inhale to center. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Again, nice and slow. 3 seconds to move the knee from a vertical to a horizontal position, and then 3 seconds to bring it back up. Notice the pelvis rocking back and forth as you do this movement. If you'd like a little more spice in your life, what you can do is straighten the leg after the knee comes down. And I've run out of room on my side, so I'll just have to do it on this side. Let's do one more each side. And release. And we'll take a few moments here to just breathe. Let your muscles relax. And notice what you feel. Most of these movements are not going to be able to pinpoint one specific muscle group. For example, what we were just doing, the obliques are used to twist the pelvis and lift this side and push this knee up. But the quads are certainly involved in this movement also. So we're always going to have some overlap for different muscle groups. Neighboring muscle groups will be involved.
So we're going to do another twist, but it's going to be from a different position. We're going to start and we're going to put our left leg down on the ground. Right leg, we're going to lift again so that the thigh is vertical. And then from this position, we're going to take that right knee across the body to the left side of the mat. We're going to come back to center, straighten that leg out, bring this leg up. Left leg comes across the body, comes back to center and down. So here's the breath work. Starting from here, inhale and bring the knee across. Exhale, come back to center, put the leg down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, if you'd like a little more challenge, what you can do instead of putting your leg down onto the mat or the floor is to keep it lifted. So inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Notice the pelvis rocking back and forth as you do this movement. Let's do one more each side. And release.
So what we've been doing thus far is we've been keeping the shoulders stable and anchored into the mat and having the pelvis rock back and forth as we engage the obliques in order to twist the pelvis. We're going to do movement from constructive rest, except we're going to reverse the order. We're going to keep the pelvis stable and anchored, and the shoulders are going to rock back and forth. We're going to start by bringing the hands up just above the armpits so that you've got your forearms in an X shape, and then you're going to bring the thighs vertical and point your elbows straight up at the ceiling. And then from this position, keeping the pelvis anchored, we're going to twist to one side, come back to center, twist to the other, back to center. So the breath work, exhale to one side, inhale to center, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Let's do one more each side.
and release.
All right, we're going to do one more, and this is a very subtle but rather difficult movement to do. And it is going to continue to use the obliques. And what we're going to do is we're going to start again in constructive rest pose. But what we're going to do is lift the thighs, and then we're going to take one knee up towards the sky, and then bring it down. And then the other knee up towards the sky, and then down. We've kind of done this movement where we had one knee drop down and the other push up. But in this case, we're not going to drop that knee in order to help with the twist. So getting the twist by using the obliques is going to be much more difficult in this particular position. So let's interlace our hands, bring them behind our head, and then I'm going to lift my right knee up. Left knee stays pushing down into the mat, and then reverse. So the breath work here is inhale as you lift a knee, exhale back to center. Inhale as you engage, exhale as you release. If you find yourself moving a little too fast, just release everything. Come back to your breath. Find that breath rhythm. And then come back to the movement. Inhale, engage. Exhale, relax. Let's do one more each side. And release. Take a moment. Just lay here, relax, breathe, and feel. We're going to switch to the quadratus lumborum. And the quadratus lumborum is a muscle that starts back here at the pelvic crest, and it runs up into the spinal cavity along the spine itself. When you lift a hip up, quadratus lumborum is involved in that movement. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a movement from constructive rest pose that will use the quadratus lumborum to swing the hips like this. So let's start. I'll start kind of in a 3/4 position so you can see this a little better. So again, we're going to bring our hands behind our head. We're going to bring our thighs vertical. We're going to then bring the shins so they're parallel with the floor. Heels together and knees apart. So thighs vertical, shins horizontal, heels together, knees are apart. And then from this position, we're going to focus on the heels. We're going to move the heels over to the right side and then come back to center and move them to the left. So the focus of the movement here is the heels.
And the breath work is inhale as we move the heels to one side. Exhale, let them come back to neutral. Inhale to the other side. Exhale to center. So we'll inhale as we engage, exhale as we relax. So you may notice the pelvis is kind of swiveling like this. As my heels move to the right, the pelvis swivels this way, and then it swivels this way. So that movement in the pelvis is made possible by the quadratus lumborum. Let's do one more each side. And release. And take a few breaths here and just feel. You may feel some engagement here in the upper thighs, strictly from holding your legs up for that period of time, but you should also feel some warmth here on the back side of the pelvic rim as the quadratus lumborum gets used. So we're going to take a look at the glutes. And what we're going to do to start is we're going to start from a constructive rest pose. And we're going to do a low bridge and then low bridge with the knees moving in opposite directions. So we already started, our first movement today was knees moving in opposite directions. And that basic movement is a really powerful tool for strengthening muscles. So we're going to come back to constructive rest pose. We're going to bring our hands behind our head again and pull your heels in as close to your butt as they will comfortably come. And from this position, what we're going to do is we're going to push the knees away from the head so the knees go that way, like this. This is low bridge. And come on down. So there's no lift here in the midsection. The movement is strictly knees forward. So there's low bridge. There's no lift here in the middle. Come back down. The breath work here is inhale as we engage the muscles. Exhale as we release. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So let's do a few of those. Notice as the knees push away, continue to push even though they're not moving any longer. You'll feel a nice lengthening of the spine. All right, now we're going to switch things up a little bit. What we're going to do is go into low bridge, so both knees push forward, but instead of coming back down again, what we're going to do is move the knees in different directions. So one will press forward, one will press back. So my left knee is pressing forward, my right knee is pressing back. and then I come back to low bridge with the knees at the same position. Then I reverse that, right knee forward, left knee back, come back to neutral. So inhale as the knees move in different directions. Exhale, come back to neutral. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. As you do this movement, notice what is going on the back side of the pelvis. You may feel some engagement back here as the glutes are working. You may feel a little bit of movement in the sacrum, in the sacroiliac joint. Let's do 2 more. And release. So we're going to do another little bit of movement for the glutes. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to do it from a prone mountain position. So we'll be flat on our belly. We are not going to involve the upper part of the body. So what we'll do is we'll bring our hands together on the mat and rest our forehead on the mat, on our hands, so that we can disengage the neck and the upper torso. So let's come into a prone mountain position. And what we're going to do from this position is we're going to lengthen one leg at a time. So you may have, when you wake up, you may, lengthen arms, legs, neck, whatever. That same sort of lengthening is what we're going to do here with one leg at a time. So we'll come down into prone mountain, we'll rest our head on our hands, and we'll lengthen one leg and then let it release. Lengthen the other leg, let it release. What you're going to notice as the leg lengthens, if I'm lengthening my right leg, you're going to notice the right hip area dips down in towards the ground. And that's what I want you to notice. Just notice that. So let's get started. So, here's prone mountain. Take a few breaths here before we get started. Just notice your breath cycle again. And on your next inhale, let's lengthen the right leg so the foot and the leg extends away from the hips. And then on the exhale, release and come back to neutral. Next inhale, left leg lengthens. Exhale, release. So inhale, lengthen the leg. Exhale, release. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. Now, as you do this, I want you to notice the hip area. As you lengthen one leg, that hip area, the upper thigh, the hip area, should press down into the mat. And now we're going to move into a slightly different position. Instead of just lengthening that leg, I'd also like you to lift the knee a little bit up off the mat. So inhale, extend the leg, lift the knee off the mat a little bit. Exhale, bring everything down and relax. Notice again the thigh, upper thigh, and the hip area of the extended and lifted leg pressing down into the mat. And we're going to make one more modification here, and we're going to add on to that. So as we extend and lift one leg, I'd like you to bend at the knee, bring the heel in as close to your butt as you can. Exhale, come back and release. Inhale, lengthen, lift, bend. Exhale, release. Inhale, lengthen, lift the knee, bend at the knee. Exhale, release. So we've transitioned a little bit. We started this movement focusing on the glutes. And what we're doing right now is still involving the glutes somewhat, but it's also deeply involving the hamstrings. This movement also is going to be using the extensor muscles, the long vertical muscles that run alongside the spine, particularly in the lower back. So you may feel some engagement there also. Let's do one more each side. And release. And we'll stay here. We'll take a few breaths. And just relax and feel what you feel. And hopefully you can feel some muscle heat back in the glutes.
We're going to do one more movement here for the glutes, and that is going to be from a table position. And this is table. So we're going to start in table. I prefer a longer table, so there is a bit of an angle from the shoulder to the wrist. It gives you a little more freedom of movement, and it torques on your wrists a little bit less. So from this position, what we're going to do is we're going to find a knee, and we're going to move that knee straight to the side as far as it'll go. So like this. And then come down. And then the other side. Now, it's important
to pay attention to the alignment in this position. The key bit of alignment for this movement is to keep the arms straight. Tendency for all of us is to let one of the arms bend so that it feels like we're getting a bit more of a twist in the spine. The truth is the opposite, and by keeping both arms straight and the shoulders stable, we get a much better twist because of that alignment. Let's do one more. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. And notice, take a few breaths, notice what you feel. Probably going to feel some heat back here in the glutes, and that's a very good thing. We're going to transition into a standing position, and we'll do some movement from there. Okay, we're going to start with some standing poses, and I'd like you to have a strap, and you can kind of fit that strap so it basically comes from hip bone to hip bone. That'll give you a decent amount of distance. So you want to have the strap in a loop, and we're going to put the strap just above the knees, and you should put the buckle in the middle. And when you stand with your feet about hip width apart, there should be some play in that belt. And so you may take a moment here just to get that belt set. And what we're going to do is I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what's going on. And what we're do is we're going to come into a pose called huddle. And it's similar to what football players do when they get together to call the plays. So in a position like this, so your shins are going to be at a little bit of an angle, your knees are going to be a little forward, your butt is going to be back, and you notice that we have a nice long back. So you're going to hold the weight of your torso on your arms and hands. And from this position, we're going to start with another movement for the psoas, and it's a basic cat-cow position. So on the next exhale, we're going to arch the back up. And on the inhale, we're going to reverse that. Find your sternum, your solar plexus, and push it down towards the ground so that you get as much of an arch here in your back as is comfortable. Don't strain things here. Exhale up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Now at the same time as you're doing this movement, you're going to be pressing out with your knees against that strap. So press the knees out, strongly out, as you continue to do this movement. Exhale up, inhale, down to cow. Exhale to cat, inhale to cow. And next time we come back to cow, I'd like you to pause there briefly. Keep your solar plexus pressing down towards the ground. And just notice how that feels with the strap
holding the knees in, the knees pressing strongly against the strap. And let's do a few more cat-cows. And release. So you can drop that strap, and we're going to swing our attention from the psoas to the glutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a movement similar to what we were doing in a constructive rest position. We're going to move alternate knees, one knee forward, one knee back, one knee forward, one knee back. And we're going to do that from a standing position. So feet will go about hip width apart. And then on an inhale, push one knee forward, one knee back. Come back to center. Back to center. I'll show you what it looks like from the side. So you were going to notice on the back, the knee that's pressing back, in this case my right knee, you're going to notice a fair amount of stretch going on in this hip joint. Exhale, knees opposite directions, inhale back to center. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. You'll notice the pelvis tilts forward as the knees move in different directions. The pelvis also tilts to one side, tilts to the side. So we're getting a lot of movement around the hip joints. One knee forward, one knee back. And release. All right, take a few breaths and just feel what you feel. So we're going to continue with the glutes. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do a little bit of a balancing pose. So again, with your feet parallel and about hip width apart, we're going to anchor one foot. So I'm going to anchor my left foot. So find a nice anchoring. Imagine your foot being pulled down in towards the earth from a large magnet, or a tremendous weight on your foot pushing down. So anchor that foot, and we're going to lift the right foot. We're going to swing the right foot behind and bring the toes down. And then we're going to take a few breaths here. And then come back to center. Anchor that right foot. Bring the left foot behind. We're going to take 2 breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And come out. So we're going to do that nice and slow. Foot back, take 2 breath cycles. Notice what you feel in this position. There's a twist here in the leg. There's also a rotation in the pelvis. The key here is to rotate the pelvis around. We're not just taking a leg back behind. We could do that like this quite sloppily. But the idea here is to rotate the pelvis around. come back to center. Rotate the pelvis. Come back to center. There we go. Let's do one more each side. So rotate, take a couple of breaths. Feel the pelvis rotating around. Come back to center. Second side. Come back to center. All right. So when we did that movement, we're putting our toes down on the back. What we're going to do next is we're going to rotate with the foot lifted. So it's going to be a much more difficult movement because we don't have the foot to kind of anchor us. So let's start again. Anchor your left foot. Swing the right foot behind. Take 2 breaths. Come back to center. Anchor the right foot. Rotate the pelvis to the left. Bring that foot around. 2 breaths. And release. Rotate the pelvis to the right. And release. So we rotate. We take 2 full breath cycles and we come back to center. And release. So, take a few breaths. Just notice what you notice. We're going to swing our attention now to the hamstrings, and we're going to do some range of motion with the hamstrings. And one of the best ways to use the hamstrings range of motion is through what's called a forward flexion. So we're going to start with a long back, and a long back typically would be a back like you were lifting your arms up. So lift your arms up and then just bring them down. Hold that same back shape. So you're going to have a nice long curve from your butt up to the back of your head. So start like this, knees bent slightly. Bring the hands down. So keep that same nice long back. And then from that, we're going to hinge right here at the hip joints, keeping the back nice and long and straight, and come back up. Let me move my receiver here. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. We're going to change what we're doing here. Instead of just doing a forward flexion, what we're going to do is we're going to lift the heel of one foot. So I'm going to lift my right heel just a little bit off the mat and continue with that movement. Exhale down, inhale up. When I come back up, I'm going to put the right heel down, lift the left heel. Exhale down, inhale up. Put the left heel down, lift the right. So each time I'm vertical, I'm going to switch the heels. And then I'm going to do a nice deep forward flexion, keeping the back nice and long so that all the movement takes place in the hip joint. Let's do one more each side. And release. So we're going to take one more look at the movement for the hamstrings, and it's another standing position. And this is what it's going to look like. We're going to take one foot back, not that far, put it on its toes, and then from this position we're going to straighten or push the knee back. So the leg is going to straighten. The way it's going to straighten is we're going to push the knee back behind us and step out. Inhale, step the foot back onto the toes, push the knee back. Exhale, release. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Notice what happens in your back as you push that knee back. What you should notice is a little bit of a lift here at the sternum. As the lower muscles, the hamstrings and the lower back muscles engage, you should notice a little bit of a lengthening, a curvature in the spine, and a little bit of lift here at the sternum. All right, let's modify that a slight bit. Instead of just bringing the foot back and straightening the knee, once you straighten the knee, lift the foot off the mat, just a very slight bit. And then exhale, release. Inhale onto the toes, push the knee back, lift the foot a slight bit. Exhale, down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And release. We're going to do a couple of complex movements that are going to be using a lot of the muscles in the general midsection from the diaphragm down to the upper thighs. We're going to start with a movement from table. Both of these are going to be from table. We're going to start in table position, and we're going to start with that same movement that we did before where we lift the knee, but then we're going to take the leg and shoot it back and across the body. And you notice what happens here. The hip lifts way high up in the air as the leg comes across the body off to the other side. Then we bring the knee back, bring it down. This knee lifts and then shoots across, comes back. Breath work. Inhale as the leg lifts and shoots across. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. As you do this movement, notice the twist in the spine. Notice the lift in the hip as that leg shoots across the body.
Keep those arms nice and straight. And release. All right. Some nice complex movement to get things working. We got one more movement that we're going to do from table, and it is a complex one, and I'll show you how the setup is going to look, and then we'll do some moving. So we're going to start from table, and then what we're going to do is we're going to find the midpoint, the midline of the mat, and we're going to take our left knee and put the left knee right on that line that runs right down the middle of the mat. The left foot goes way off the side, if you can see it here, way off the side of the mat. We leave this hand here, we lift everything else. So this might look somewhat familiar to you as a half moon. So this is a half moon on the knee. But from this position, what we're going to do is we're going to move the foot in one direction. The shoulder and the arms move in the opposite direction. And then we come opposite, dip that hip. This hip dips down towards the ground. Leg and arm move in opposite directions. Exhale as you come forward. Inhale as the arm swings back. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, come back to center and release. Let's go to the side. So again, we start in table. We're going to take our right knee, put it on the center line of the mat. The right foot is way off to the side. Now, once I move up here, my back will be towards you, so hopefully you'll be able to hear. So, we lift into position, leg moves forward, arm and shoulder move back, and then we reverse. Inhale as the arm lifts, exhale as the arm comes down. Inhale, exhale. One more. And release. So the final movement that we're going to do is going to be the same sort of movement that we just started with. However, we're going to add a little bit of extra movement to it. So we're going to step back with one foot, push the knee back, lift the foot off the ground a little bit. Then we're going to lift the knee, bring it across so that the leg is straight and cross the body, and then come out. Left side, on your toes, push the knee back, lift the foot, lift that knee straight up, cross the body, bring it back down. Right side, toes, knee back, lift that foot, lift that knee straight up, cross, and down. Left foot, lift, lift, and down. Right foot,
Let's do one more each side. And release. Well, I hope you've enjoyed some of these movements we've done today. I hope the area here between your diaphragm, your upper thighs, I hope it feels fabulous. And you're going to walk around a little bit differently for the rest of the day. So I hope you enjoyed that and come back again and run through this sequence again with me. So thanks for joining me. Namaste.